Hey everybody, welcome back to the Maple Grove Scripture Reading Podcast. So we are going to finish up Job chapter 32 today. So a couple episodes ago, we met Elihu for the first time through the narrator's introduction. So we learned who he was, where he came from, why he had been holding back. And last time, he spoke for the first time and started to make his case, saying that age doesn't automatically bring wisdom because it's the spirit in a person, the breath of the Almighty, that gives understanding. He watched the three friends fail to answer Job's arguments, called out their exit strategy in advance, and announced that he'd be taking a different approach. Well, today in verses 15 through 22, he's going to cross that threshold. The friends have gone silent, and Elihu is done waiting. So let me read through verses 15 through 22. They are dismayed and have no more to say. Words have failed them. Must I wait now that they are silent, now that they stand there with no reply? I too will have my say. I too will tell what I know. For I am full of words, and the spirit within me compels me. Inside I am like bottled up wine, like new wineskins ready to burst. I must speak and find relief. I must open my lips and reply. I will show no partiality, nor will I flatter anyone. For if I were skilled in flattery, my maker would soon take me away. So Elihu opens by naming what everybody in the room can already see. They are dismayed. Words have failed them. No reply is coming. The three friends have been silenced, not by persuasion, but maybe more by exhaustion. They've argued everything they had and couldn't break through. And now they're standing there with nothing left to say. And the silence isn't peaceful. It's the silence of a debate that ended without any resolution, and everybody knows it. In verse 16, Elihu turns the logic of his earlier deference around. He'd waited out of respect for age. He held back because they were older and the floor belonged to them. But now the floor is empty. The argument he used to justify waiting had pretty much taken care of itself. Must I wait now that they're silent? Well, the answer is no. There's nothing left to wait for. And it's actually a careful move. He's not abandoning his respect for the older men. He's pointing out that the condition that required his deference no longer exists. They've finished, and so he can speak. So verses 17 and 18 are the announcement and the reason behind it. He'll have his say, he'll tell what he knows, and the reason he can't simply stay quiet is that he's full of words and the spirit within him compels him. That word compels is carrying some weight here. It's not enthusiasm, it's not eagerness, it's closer to necessity. The spirit within him has been building pressure the entire time he was waiting. And it's reached the point where staying silent takes more effort than speaking. He's not choosing to speak so much as he's finally giving in to something that had to come out. And notice the same spirit he appealed to in verse 8 as the source of understanding is now the thing driving him to speak. Last episode, he argued that wisdom comes from the Spirit of God in a person, not from age. Now that same spirit is what he credits for the words pressing up from inside him. The argument and the compulsion are coming from the same source. Verse 19 is the image that carries the whole passage. Inside, I am like bottled up wine, like new wineskins ready to burst. In the ancient world, new wine was placed in new wineskins because the fermentation process wasn't complete. As the wine continued to ferment, it produced gas, and that gas needed somewhere to go. The new wineskin was flexible enough to expand, but if the wineskin was sealed tight with no vent, the pressure kept building until something gave way and the wineskin burst. That's what Elihu says is happening inside him. He's been holding this in for the entire length of the debate, chapters 3 through 31. It's a long time to sit on something that's actively fermenting. The pressure hasn't decreased with time, it's increased. Jesus uses that same image in a different direction in Matthew 9, talking about new wine in new wineskins. The metaphor works because anyone in that world would have understood the physics of it. Fermenting wine creates pressure, and pressure demands release. There's no safe way to keep it sealed indefinitely. What Elihu is describing isn't impatience or arrogance. It's the experience of having something building inside you that simply can't stay there. We pastors feel something like this because sometimes there are sermons that feel that way where we're getting stuff from Scripture that just keeps pressing until it gets out. The image, it's physical, it's honest. He's not performing urgency. He's describing it. And verse 20 follows directly from verse 19. I must speak and find relief. I must open my lips and reply. The Hebrew word behind relief, it's a word that's pronounced ravach. It means to be wide, to have space, to breathe freely again. It's the same word used in 1 Samuel 16:23, where the evil spirit left Saul and he had relief after David played the harp. So it's a physical thing, like the chest opens, the tightness lets go. Something that had been constricting finally releases. And that's what Elihu is describing. Not the satisfaction of finally getting to make his point, but the physical experience of the pressure leaving. Speaking is the exhale. The silence had been holding his breath for 31 chapters. Keeping silent any longer would be like trying to hold your breath past the point where your body will let you. At some point, you got to breathe. Not because you decided to, but because you had to. Now, this is not how Elihu has presented himself so far in the chapter. He came in deliberate, theological, and measured. He has a case. He has an argument. He's worked out why he's entitled to speak. And underneath all of this is a man who's just been sitting in genuine internal strain, holding in something that he couldn't hold in much longer. And of course, those two things aren't contradictory. The fact that he's been building towards speaking with a coherent argument doesn't mean that the compulsion wasn't real. Both are true. The argument earned the right to speak. The spirit within made waiting impossible. And then we have verses 21 and 22, where Elihu sets the terms of his speeches before he gives them. He will show no partiality. He's not going to flatter anybody. And the reason he gives is accountability. If he were skilled in flattery, his maker would take him away. And it's a striking way to ground that commitment. He's not saying that he values honesty because it's the right thing in the abstract. He's saying he fears God enough to speak plainly, that his maker is the one watching. His maker is the one that he answers to. And a man who flatters to preserve peace or manage relationships, rather than telling what he actually sees, will answer for that. So Elihu isn't going to do it. The wisdom tradition treated flattery as a form of deception. Proverbs 26 calls flattery a trap. Proverbs 29 says a man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his feet. The problem with flattery isn't just that it's false, it's that it reorients you toward the audience rather than toward the truth. So you start saying what you think is going to land well rather than what's actually true. And once that becomes the habit, then you really can no longer be trusted with what you say or to say what you see. Elihu knows this, and he's taking it off the table before he opens the case. And that commitment runs in both directions. He's not going to soften his critique of Job out of sympathy for a suffering man, but he's also not going to let the three friends off easy because they're older and respected. No partiality means that neither side gets special treatment. Job's pain doesn't earn him a pass. The friend's seniority doesn't earn them one either. That's a bold thing to say before you open your case, and it puts everybody on notice. It also puts Elihu on notice because now that he said this, any move toward flattery, that's going to be the first thing that people are going to pounce on, right? So he's bound himself to his own standard publicly, and he's using God as his witness. Now, whether he lives up to it is a question that we need to watch as the speech unfolds. Some commentators have noted the irony that his introduction is itself maybe some self-flattering talk, presenting himself as the one who listened when the others failed, who has the Spirit's insight that they lack, who will speak plainly where they hedged. And he may be more confident in his own clarity than the situation warrants, but we'll see. The commitment, though, that's right, I think. Flattery before God is a serious thing, and a man who knows his maker is watching and still speaks plainly is operating from a better place than somebody who softens the truth to protect the room. All right, that wraps up chapter 32. Next time we'll get into chapter 33, where Elihu finally turns to Job directly and starts to make his case. He's going to address Job by name. He's going to invite a real exchange. And then he's going to start laying out his argument about God's way of speaking to people. Hope you have a great day. Talk again soon. God bless.